What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content. And thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Once again, big shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about the Dolphins. All right, so the coaching carousel is in full effect. We mentioned a few episodes ago that Matt LaFleur was somebody the Dolphins were looking at. And then Green Bay said, we're not letting him go. We're going to figure this thing out. And so we just moved on. I already mentioned as soon as he became a candidate that John Harbaugh was going to end up going to the Giants. It made the most sense. And sure enough, that's what happened. Y'all know I like being right. So just, okay. But now, I don't know what's going on in Green Bay. So I'm going to do some reckless speculation because that's some of my favorite stuff to do. They want to keep him publicly. That's what they're saying. We want to keep you. We want to extend you. I think LaFleur knows he's in super high demand. I think if they fire Matt LaFleur, he will be, let's say it's Thursday when I'm taping this episode. By Monday, he would have a job, in my opinion. I think he would do a virtual interview in Green Bay. They will like him, say, can you fly here tomorrow? Or we'll fly to you. They'll do a second interview. What's your vision for the team? And he will be hired by Monday. That's how big of a candidate he is. And I think Tennessee will give anything. He was already OC there before. You got Cam Ward. You got to develop him. Perfect fit. Atlanta, same situation. Hey, can you get some out of Penix? We already have tons of talent. You can kind of help pick the GM. Easy fit. Miami. Hey, your old assistant GM, he's down here now. Easy pick. That's 3 teams immediately that I think he's by far the top choice. So because he's in such demand, I think this is actually a power play on his side that's holding the deal up. I think Green Bay is like, all right, you got paid. I don't know what his contract was. Say you got paid $8 million a year. Green Bay is like, all right, we'll give you a 3-year extension, $30 million. We'll give you $2 million raise extension kind of thing, right? I think he's pushing for even more control, maybe more say so in drafting, because he knows I'm not going to be in a more powerful position than I am right now. This is as good as it gets. There's 7 openings. You think the Ravens wouldn't give him a call? Like, there's a lot of openings. I gave you 3, to me, slam dunk perfect fits. And then there's a couple other teams that can still take him. He's like, I got to push my chips in the middle. I'm going to get everything I want. If that's, I want more say so of my assistants. If that's draft stuff, if that's, me and Gutekunst are in better, whatever that is. I don't think this is Green Bay like lowballing them, because I don't think they have a better option to coach unless Green Bay actually wants to promote Jeff Hafley, which is an interesting thing because they already have him on staff. They know he very well can get the Miami job. The odds-on favorite to be Miami's coach right now is Jeff Hafley. So they think we want to keep Jeff more than we want to lose LaFleur. That might be something happening, but I think LaFleur has proven to be a great coach. We don't know what Jeff could be. So that's my reckless speculation that LaFleur is really pushing like all the buttons. Hey, I got power. I want everything. And I think Green Bay is kind of balking at it currently. And I think they're trying to figure out maybe they can stall him out so a few jobs get filled. And then once they stall him out for a little bit, then it's like, oh, well, I guess that Atlanta job just got, oh, Miami just hired a coach. Oh, all of a sudden now your bargaining power goes down, and then Green Bay can get him down to where they want him to be. Again, reckless speculation. I don't have people on the ground in Green Bay. I'm just reading a situation where they have an in-demand coach who wants to stay. They have an ownership group that wants him to stay, but they can't come to terms. That doesn't make sense. Not in a market like this where if you're a viable head coach, you walking around big chest. They were saying John Harbaugh wanted 20 million, GM type powers, this and that. People were flying to his house. I mean, when you the big chief, people show up, right? I think LaFleur is not as big as Harbaugh because Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl, but I think he's pretty high up, and I think there's some power struggling play kind of thing going on behind the scenes, and we will see how it turns out. If they do let him go, though, that is my betting favorite for Miami to hire, assuming that happens in the next, 24, 48 hours, but we'll keep our eye on it. So the Dolphins today conducted their virtual interview with Robert Saleh, who I talked about a couple days ago, and Jesse Minter, who's the defensive coordinator in in LA, but for the Chargers. This is an interesting situation because the Chargers are not in the playoffs right now. And I'm always weary of virtual interviews. To me, a virtual interview is we don't think of you as our head coach guy because we have a billionaire owner and we are in Miami. Why wouldn't someone who's not currently working not fly to Miami? Again, assuming their team's not in the playoffs. The Chargers got mollywopped. Jesse Minter, for what I know, is chilling at home. He's not coaching. So the idea that Miami's not like, you're so high on our list that we want you to come in person and meet the facility and do all, we're just going to talk to you on Zoom. That feels to me like he's lower on their list of people they should hire. But again, they're higher on Jeff Hafley than Jesse Minter. And I think a lot of people in the league think Jesse Minter is actually a better option. One, because he's from the Harbaugh tree. Two, because he was really good at Michigan. And three, the Chargers defense was badly injured and they didn't have a cornerback all year, and they still play really good defense. And I think the way they play defense is the way a lot of teams kind of want to play. They're very attacking on that side of the ball. So it's interesting that that kind of went down that way. Robert Saleh is still coaching for San Francisco. They have a game in like 48 hours. Yeah, it's virtual. Like I'm getting ready for something else. Jesse Minter, the fact that he wasn't there and the fact that we didn't fly to him tells me that he's not as high up as I think he should be. I know there's a connection, I guess, between him and Baltimore, which is interesting. But Jesse Minter is a Michigan guy, and we know how Ross is about Michigan guys. So it's intriguing to me that he's that low in the totem pole. I know Hafley's high mostly because of John Eric. I get that. But if you're asking me which young defensive guy do I think has upside that we can ride with, I think they're effectively the same person. It's kind of like, I don't know their personalities. Like I don't hear them talk a lot. They might have drastically different personalities. Where Jason Minter seems really intense to me because that's kind of how Harbaugh coaches. Like he likes those kind of dudes. So maybe that turned the team off, or maybe Hafley's the same. I don't know. Like I'm just gauging them based on what I see when I watch them play. I think Green Bay has more talent on their defense, and so if they finish higher in defensive rankings, to me you should. You have better personnel. Like that makes sense to me. When I watch the Chargers, I'm like, I don't know how the Chargers are doing this. Like they got draft picks. They got Derwin James, who's like 30, who's still amazing. They got Khalil Mack, who's playing with an arm in a brace because he like tore his shoulder halfway through the year. I was like, how are they still generating rush? How are they still covering? Like their defense doesn't make sense to me. But they were pretty good all year in a rough division. I just think that he should be seen in higher regard. I'm not saying he should be hired, obviously. But if we're so high on Jeff, I thought we should be just as high on Jesse, and I don't think we are, just based on what happened today. And if you hear about him being hired somewhere else in the next 2 or 3 days, don't be surprised. And now we're from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog's the best place to get on all the action. Playing Underdog is easy. Just pick your favorite player will go higher or lower on various stats, including rushing yards, receiving yards, passing touchdowns. If you pick well, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Now, I gave you guys all my picks on yesterday's show, so if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's 5 picks. Last week I went 3-2. We're aiming to do better this week. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code FOOTBALLFAN to score $75 in bonus entries once you make your first $5 play. That's promo code FOOTBALLFAN. Underdog, make picks, win some money.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-878 or text from 467-369.
Now, I always tell y'all, anytime you see sources are saying and whatever, it's because somebody wants it to be out. There are no secrets out here. These people all have connections. There is word through sourcing that John Harbaugh, now with the Giants, is looking at Anthony Weaver specifically to be his defensive coordinator. There's a lot to unpack in that whole situation. First of all, allegedly, one of the things that led to him leaving Baltimore is that Steve Bisciotti, who's the owner of Baltimore, did not want him to retain his coordinators, Todd Monken and Zach Orr. And John Harbaugh was like, those are my people, 10 toes down. Which means, now that he has a job with the Giants, the Baltimore Ravens have to hire a new coach. They are certainly not keeping Orr on. He's not a good defensive coordinator, and he's not even highly seen in the league. He was allowed to be the DC there because he played there. And it was like, oh, a guy from our farm and our factory is now coming back. Welcome home. He's not DeMeco Ryans. He's not that good. DeMeco played for the Texans. Why wouldn't he just hire him with the Giants? You were so 10 toes down to keep him with Baltimore, but now you have a new job. He's obviously going to get fired. Why don't you just hire him over there? If he's so good, why wouldn't you? Right? So now you have to ask yourself that first question. You were willing to lose the Baltimore job because you want to keep him, but now that you have the new job, you don't want to hire him back. Second of all, again, the Dolphins are looking at a lot of defensive-minded coaches. I've said many times I like Weaver. I hope he stays. But the more and more we hear, it's seeming more and more likely that he's not going to be part of the new regime. I don't know if this is he's got internal wording that we're about to hire a defensive coach and you're about to be out, or anyone we're interviewing, we're asking them, because I'm sure this is part of the process. Hey, if we bring you on to be our head coach, how do you feel about our current coaching staff? Do you want to gut them? Do you want to hire your own people? I'm sure they're getting back word. I want to bring my own people in. So Anthony Weaver technically still works for the Dolphins. He's our active defensive coordinator, but he's kind of a lame duck because he knows, barring, some outlier candidate, he's not going to be here with the new regime. But he hasn't been fired yet. He's still under contract. So if John Harbaugh does get Anthony Weaver, because he's under contract, I don't know if we can trade him. I don't know what has to happen there. I never heard of coordinators who are still under contract just being moved like this. I guess we would have to fire him. I don't know how that would work exactly. But I do find that interesting. Now, Anthony Weaver, as you recall, did play in Baltimore. So he did play for John Harbaugh. There's a connection there. And I think Anthony Weaver's done a good job. I know some people out there don't think he has. I'm in his camp. I think our defense was unbelievably injured this year. Yes, there's a lot of lapses with the run defense and all that kind of stuff. I think Kenneth Grant didn't develop at all this year. And secondary, let's not talk about it. But this makes sense for a lot of reasons. Again, he played for John Harbaugh at one point. He's shown that with moderate talent, I can give you decent defensive production. And I think he is like a leader of men. I do think he is the right type of guy to be a DC. If we did fire Weaver, he will get hired somewhere else. I don't believe he will be like Eric Bieniemy, who got fired by the Chiefs and then ended up going to college football. Like, I think he would get another job. I think he's good enough for that. I also think that, this is maybe like a lifeline to a former player too. Like, hey, I got to hold down Weaver because I want him to be on my squad. I think he can do a good job. The Giants' defense actually is good. They have good personnel. Let me say that more accurately. I don't know what their yards per game and all that stuff is. I know if their pass rush is healthy, which there's been some issues there with, I know Thibodeau's always in and out. Brian Burns, to me, is absolutely amazing. He's, to me, like a top 5 defensive end. He doesn't get talked about for some reason, but I don't know why. He's awesome. When I watch him play, this guy's amazing. And I think the other kid they got from Penn State will get better. He had a decent year, but he didn't do what they wanted him to do. They thought he was going to be like Carter. They thought he was going to be like Micah Parsons day one. He wasn't. But he'll get better. This, to me, will be actually a great job for Anthony Weaver because the Giants are in a giant market. So he's going to be in New York. He would get high-profile games. They play the Cowboys twice a year. That's always a big deal. Eagles twice a year. Big deal. If you show well in those games, when you go back in the hiring cycle, you like a better option. He's already been the last couple of years getting interviews. He interviewed with Atlanta. He interviewed with Baltimore. Like, he's in the cycle of this guy might get hired at some point. John Harbaugh's got apparently a lot of cachet. He's going to a team where he can actually fully do what he wants to do. They need a couple guys in the secondary, but he knows I'm going to have a pass rush, which as a DC, it can't get more amazing than that. I know I can get to the quarterback. Now I can build the whole defense around that's awesome. Give me a strong linebacker in there, 1 or 2 guys in the secondary. They have Javon Holland in the secondary too. Another connection point, right? It's one of the starting safeties. Coach under me, he knows the system already. This makes sense for a lot of reasons. I think by the time I do my next episode, you may have heard that he's already been hired. The fact that this got out, because they didn't say John Harbaugh is looking for defensive coordinators. The article named one defensive coordinator, and it was Anthony Weaver. There are a lot of good defensive coordinators. We just mentioned Hafley and Jesse Mentor, like, who could obviously defect from one team to another. All those guys have jobs too. Those guys are interviewing for coaching jobs like Anthony Weaver is. So why would I only mention the one guy? It's because I'm not saying there's back channeling conversations happening. I would never recklessly speculate like that on this platform. What I am saying is, I think by the next time you see me, he's going to be working for the Giants. That's all I'm saying. I can't say that they've already discussed, hey, would you be willing to leave Miami to come to New York? Yep. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's actually a really good hire. I don't think like budget is an issue for them because Harbaugh, apparently one of his demands is, I want a bunch of money and a bunch of money to hire my staff, which means he can pay Anthony Weaver probably more than he got paid here. And let's be honest, he's going to a team with a lot more talent on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's a slam dunk for both people. I know you. The team is good. You can do your job. And I don't want to coach defense. Go do your thing over there. I don't know who their OC is. They'll figure that part out. But this would be a sad loss because I like Anthony Weaver. I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do in that position. If we hire a defensive coach, I assume the coach will be the de facto defensive coordinator, even if we hire a person to kind of fill in. I think they will still be kind of the DC. And we'll see what candidates we start looking at to fill other voids on the team. But I do think this story has significant smoke. I think, if anything, stuff is already on fire. And by the time this gets leaked out more and more and more, you'll be like, yeah, this actually makes a lot of sense because he could have ended up at a team like Atlanta. Like, he interviewed to be their coach. And I mentioned before, some of these guys are interviewing for like head coaching jobs, but really these are coordinator interviews. Like, hey, we know we're not going to hire you, but we're going to get you in the building. We want to talk to you, kind of feel you out a little bit. I like your vibe. We're going to bring you on to be a coach. Like, you think Mike McDaniel's doing only head coaching interviews right now? There's a lot of teams that say, hey, we don't want you to be the head guy, but the way you scheme up that run game, there's something there. So I look forward to seeing this. If Anthony Weaver does go there, we wish you the best. I think you did a good job. Thank you for the time you put in here. And I'm already saying goodbye. I think this story is valid, but we wish you the best. And go win up there. I don't think we play the Giants next year, so as long as you don't beat us, I'm cool with it. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.